Their new neighbors were wild, dangerous, and lived under the garden shed. For one retired couple, a bobcat family's arrival wasn't an invasion, it was an invitation into a world they never knew existed. Martha stood at her kitchen window. Her first cup of coffee warmed her hands. The early sun was a soft yellow light on the lawn. It was a quiet morning in their small Texas town. Martha was 72. She liked her quiet mornings. Her husband, Henry, was already outside. He was checking on his tomato plants. Their small brick house was their haven. They had lived here for 15 years. It was where they settled after their children grew up and moved away. "Henry," Martha's voice was sharp. It was filled with surprise. Henry looked up from his garden. He was a retired mail carrier. His hands were always a little dirty from the soil. He walked to the patio doors. Martha stood there, pointing. On their patio furniture were two small kittens. They were spotted and fluffy. They tumbled over the cushions. They chased each other's tails. They were not house cats. "Are those?" Henry's voice was a whisper. He pushed his glasses up his nose. "I think so." Martha's hand found Henry's arm. "They're bobcats. Baby bobcats." The kittens were tiny. They were no bigger than their two small dogs, Buster and Pip. The dogs were inside, barking wildly at the glass. The kittens had tufts of fur on their ears. Their coats were spotted brown and gold. They rolled and played. They did not see the two humans watching them. Henry reached for the door handle. Martha stopped him. "Wait," she said. "Where is their mother?" As if she had heard the question, a shadow moved. It was in the corner of their yard. A large cat sat under the old oak tree. It was a full-grown bobcat. Her yellow eyes were fixed on the house. Her stare was so intense, it made Martha and Henry step back. "Good heavens," Henry breathed. "She's beautiful." The mother bobcat was a stunning creature. Her fur was a mix of browns and grays. It was marked with the dark spots of her kind. She sat perfectly still. She watched her kittens play. She also watched the house. She looked both graceful and dangerous. "We have to call someone," Martha said. She reached for her phone. Animal control, maybe. But the calls would not bring the help they expected. Their new visitors would change how they saw the world. The first call was to the local police. A young woman named Brenda answered. She listened to Martha's story. "Ma'am, I understand, but we can't do anything. Not unless they're aggressive or sick. Bobcats are native wildlife. You can try calling Texas Parks and Wildlife." The next call was to the Wildlife Department. An officer named Davis gave them a similar answer, but he also gave them more information. "This is happening more and more," Officer Davis explained. His voice was calm over the phone. "There's a lot of new building in North Texas. Wildlife is learning to live in suburbs. That mother bobcat probably found your yard last month. We had those heavy rains. She was looking for a safe, dry place to have her babies." "But we have dogs," Henry said. He was on the speakerphone now. "Small dogs." "I understand your concern, sir. Keep your dogs inside or watch them when they go out. Bobcats usually avoid people and pets, but a mother with kittens can be hard to predict." The next few days were strange. Martha and Henry lived with their new wild neighbors. Buster and Pip had to stay inside most of the time. They were not happy about it. Martha and Henry watched the bobcat family through their windows. It was like having their own nature show. Then came the first real shock. Martha saw it. She was watching the kittens play. She saw a flicker of movement near the garden shed. Another kitten came out. Then another, and another. "Henry," she called. "You have to see this. We have more." By the time Henry came to the window, there were 5 kittens in the yard. 5 balls of spotted fur. They tumbled and played. They stalked butterflies with clumsy pounces. 5. Henry said. He shook his head. He could not believe it. She had 5 babies in our yard. The mother bobcat seemed to know they were watching. She stretched her long body in the sun. She stood up. She walked closer to the house. Martha and Henry held their breath. She stopped about 20 feet from their patio door. She looked right at them. Her gaze was steady. She seemed to be studying them. Then, she turned back to watch her kittens. "I think she's showing them off," Martha whispered. A small smile touched her lips. She was still worried, but she was also charmed. As the days turned to a week, their lives changed. Henry moved his morning gardening to the front yard. Martha put a chair by the back window. She could knit and watch the kittens. She started a journal. She wrote down what the kittens did each day. The one with the extra spot on his ear caught a grasshopper today. The smallest one, we call her Runt, tried to climb the bird feeder. She slid down 3 times. But the charm came with problems. The kittens grew. Their hunting instincts grew with them. Their backyard started to look different. Small, dead animals appeared on the patio. A mouse, a vole, even a young rabbit. They were half-eaten, and they smelled bad. "This is too much," Henry said one morning. He held his nose. He looked at the latest gift left on their patio rug. "We can't even use our own patio," Martha agreed. But she also felt a little sorry for them. She watched Runt trying to drag a mouse across the grass. The mouse was almost as big as her. "They're just learning," she said softly. "Their mother is teaching them." The biggest shock came 2 weeks later. Henry had gone into the backyard. It was the first time in days. He needed to check the water meter. It was near the back fence. He moved slowly. He made noise so the bobcats would know he was there. The mother bobcat watched him from under the oak tree. She did not move. Henry reached the water meter. Then he heard it. It was a low, grumbling growl. It made the hair on his arm stand up. He froze. He turned his head slowly. Another adult bobcat was there. It was partly hidden behind the garden shed. This one was bigger. It had a scarred ear. It was more muscular. "Martha," he called. His voice was calm but tight. "Call Officer Davis now." Henry backed away slowly. He did not take his eyes off the new bobcat. The bobcat watched him with the same intense stare as the mother. By the time Henry reached the safety of the house, his hands were shaking. Officer Davis arrived in an hour. He had binoculars and a notebook. He looked at the yard from the living room window. "That's probably the father," Davis said. "Bobcats don't usually stay around, but suburbs have a lot of food. That can change their behavior. He's probably been visiting at night. You just saw him in the daytime for the first time." "Is it safe?" Martha asked. She clutched Henry's hand. "We feel like prisoners in our own home." Davis thought for a moment. "Bobcats are shy. They're comfortable here because they don't see you as a threat. That's actually a good thing, but I understand your worry." He explained their options. They could try to move the bobcats, but it was risky. Bobcats are very territorial. If we move them, they will have to fight other bobcats for space. Many relocated animals don't survive. The stress of being captured is also very hard on them, especially a mother and her young kittens. "So what do we do?" Henry asked. "Encourage them to leave on their own," Davis suggested. "Make your yard a less friendly place. Remove food sources. That includes bird feeders. They attract small animals that bobcats eat. Use motion-activated lights or sprinklers. Play a talk radio outside. Human voices can scare them away. You can also use strong smells, like ammonia." Martha and Henry looked at each other. The idea of driving the family away was hard. They had grown attached to them. "How long until the kittens are on their own?" Martha asked. "They usually stay with their mother for 9 to 12 months. But in a place with a lot of food like this, they might leave sooner." maybe in 6 to 8 months.
After Officer Davis left, they sat in their living room. They watched the Bobcat family. The kittens were chasing each other around the oak tree. Their mother was cleaning her fur in the soft sunlight. The father had disappeared again. 6 to 8 months, Henry said. That's a long time to be stuck inside. Martha was quiet. Then she said, "Remember when the kids were young? Remember how empty the house felt after they went to college?" Henry looked at his wife. He understood. "You want them to stay." "I want to find a way to live with them," Martha corrected. "They chose us, Henry. Out of all the yards in this town, she chose ours. Doesn't that mean something?" They found a middle path. They put motion sensor lights in the far corners of the yard. They moved the bird feeders to the front yard. They made sure their garbage cans were locked, but they left the main part of the backyard alone. The area around the oak tree and the shed remained their sanctuary. They also made new routines. Morning coffee was now always by the back window. They watched the kittens wake up and start their day. They learned the bobcats were most active at dawn and dusk. This meant they could use their patio in the middle of the day. Buster and Pip learned to use the side yard for their bathroom breaks. Martha's journal became more detailed. She started to know the kittens as individuals. She gave them names based on their personalities. There was Scamp, who was always the first to explore something new. There was Climber, who wanted to get to the top of every tree. There was Pouncer, whose hunting skills were more enthusiastic than effective. There was Shy One, who liked to watch more than play. And there was Runt, the smallest, who was full of determination. Henry, who had been so worried at first, was now just as involved. He set up a small trail camera near the oak tree. It captured video of the family at night. The videos showed them a whole new world. They saw the mother teaching her kittens to stalk. They saw the father visit and leave food for the family. They saw the kittens playing under the moon. "Look at this," Henry would say, showing Martha the videos on his tablet. "She's showing them how to crouch. See?" Spring turned into summer. The kittens grew. They changed from clumsy babies into young, sleek hunters. Their spots started to fade. Their movements were smoother. Their play looked more like serious practice. A breakthrough in their relationship came by accident. Henry had a rat problem in his garden shed. He had tried traps and poisons. Nothing worked. One morning, he found the shed door was not latched. He feared the worst. He peeked inside. The rat problem was gone. There was no mess. There was no damage. There were just no more rats. "They're earning their keep," he told Martha with a laugh. The real test came in late July. A big thunderstorm hit their town. It brought heavy rain and strong winds. From their living room, Martha and Henry watched the mother bobcat. She led her kittens under the garden shed for shelter. It was the same place she had likely given birth to them. But Runt was not with them. Martha saw her first. She was a small, wet shape huddled by the back fence. The yard was flooding. She seemed too scared to cross the rushing water. "We have to do something," Martha said. She was already moving to the door. "Martha, no," Henry said, grabbing her arm. "The mother." But the mother bobcat was already moving. She leaped across the flooded yard. She reached Runt in seconds, but she did not carry the kitten back. She nudged her. She was encouraging her to follow. Runt tried, but she stumbled. The water was too deep for her small legs. Then something incredible happened. The mother looked directly at the house. She looked at Martha and Henry through the glass door. It was not a look of aggression. It was the look of a mother asking for help. Henry did not think. He grabbed an umbrella and stepped outside. The rain soaked him instantly. He moved slowly. He walked toward the fence. The mother bobcat did not run. She stepped back. She gave him space. Henry used the umbrella to make a small bridge. He laid it across the deepest part of the floodwater. It was not much, but it was enough. Runt, with her mother's gentle nudges, used the umbrella to cross. Once she was on higher ground, her mother grabbed her by the scruff of her neck. She carried her the rest of the way to the shed. Henry went back to the house. His heart was pounding. Rose wrapped him in a towel. They were both in shock. "She trusted you," Martha whispered. "She actually trusted you." After that day, everything changed. The mother no longer ran away when they came outside in the middle of the day. The kittens were still wild, but sometimes they would play where Martha and Henry could see them, even when the couple sat on their patio. Summer began to fade. The father's visits stopped. The kittens were hunting on their own now. Scamp was the first to leave. He went exploring one day and did not come back. Climber left a week later. By October, only Shy One and Runt were left with their mother. One morning in early November, Martha knew it was time. She looked outside. The mother bobcat was sitting in the middle of the yard. Her last two kittens were beside her. They were not playing. They were not hunting. They were just sitting. They were facing the house. "Henry," Martha called softly, "I think they're saying goodbye." The couple stood at their glass door. They watched the three bobcats sit for several long minutes. Then, as if they heard a silent signal, they all stood up and walked to the back fence. The mother paused. She looked back one last time. Her eyes met Martha's through the glass. The moment held for a heartbeat. Then she slipped through the fence and was gone. The yard felt huge and empty. In the days that followed, Henry took down the trail camera. Martha put her journal away. It was now filled with 6 months of stories and sketches. Buster and Pip got their backyard back, but they were still cautious around the old oak tree. 2 weeks later, Martha and Henry were having their morning coffee. Henry saw something on the patio doormat. It was a single gray feather. It was probably from a dove. It was placed neatly in the center of the mat.
"It could be the wind," Henry said, but he did not sound convinced. The feathers kept appearing. One would show up every few days, always on the doormat, always placed with care. Then, one evening, they were watching the sunset from their patio. Martha grabbed Henry's arm. A young bobcat was sitting at the back fence. It had a familiar, determined look. It was smaller than the others, but strong and healthy. "Runt," Martha breathed. The young bobcat sat for only a moment. It was long enough for them to see how much she had grown. Then she turned. She melted back into the shadows. "She made it," Henry said. His voice was thick with emotion. "Our little Runt made it." The visits continued. Not every day, and not just Runt. Sometimes they would see Shy One, too. The young bobcats never came close, but they would appear at the edge of the yard. It was a silent check-in. It was an acknowledgement. Officer Davis stopped by again a few months later. He was amazed when they told him about the feathers and the visits. "That's not typical bobcat behavior," he said, shaking his head. "The trust you built with them, it's extraordinary." Winter settled over their small Texas town. Martha and Henry used their whole backyard again, but they left the space under the oak tree wild, just in case. Sometimes in the morning light, they would find tracks in the soft dirt. They were proof of nighttime visits from their wild friends. One evening, they sat on their patio.
Buster and Pip were sleeping at their feet. "You know," Henry said, "I used to think this yard was ours, but maybe that's not how it works." Martha smiled. She reached for his hand. "Maybe we're all just sharing the same space, trying to figure out how to live together." "Even in the suburbs?" Henry agreed. As if in answer, a familiar shape appeared on the fence. It was there for just a moment. It was just a silhouette against the last light of the day. It was a reminder that the wild was never as far away as people thought. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, it would trust you. It would share its secrets. A mother bobcat had chosen Martha and Henry. She had let them watch her raise her family. They had found a way to share their world. In return, they received a gift. It was a connection to nature that was deeper than any fence or property line. In their quiet yard, that connection lived on, one carefully placed feather at a time.